Did you find the production intellectually engaging?
Yeah, absolutely. I think certainly for someone like myself who has a huge interest in creativity and the creative industry as a whole, it's quite engaging for someone like me. I like to learn other people's opinions, and I think there are a lot of really strong values to take from the production.
Brilliant. I was going to say why, but I think you've...
Oh, okay.
Okay, rating out of 10.
Certainly for this level, I give it a strong 8. I think. Looking at the equipment that's available to you, the resources that you have, and the level of training that you've had, I'd say it's a very strong piece of work. There are always improvements. I don't know if I've ever seen anything that I've listed as a 10, so an 8's a pretty high score.
Have we clearly represented the different areas of creativity?
Yeah, I'd say you've represented various different areas of creativity. There's probably no way to encompass every single area that falls within that remit, but I'd say you've covered lots of different aspects from creative art in terms of painting and drawing and sketching and that kind of thing, but also you look at video production, you look at all these different areas that fall within the creative boundaries.
Is the length appropriate?
Yeah, I didn't find myself falling asleep at any point, so that's good. That's one main thing. We're living in a world where video production is being condensed and condensed and condensed, even to the point that now we look at a 7-second video and that's enough to entertain us. So people's attention spans are kept relatively short. So I think that you've managed to compress a lot of information into a small amount of time, which is definitely the way to go about it.
Do you think that the music choice is appropriate?
Music choice is very good. It's engaging but without being overpowering, so it can fall in the background whilst there's a discussion going on, but then when the volume picks up and you're showing a montage or a time lapse or something like that, then it kind of backs up what's going on the screen. It works really well. It's got a nice tempo to it. It's got a nice rhythm. So,
any improvements to the overall production?
There are some things. There are always some things that you can look at. I think, particularly with some of the interview sequences, it could be nice to have a few cutaway shots, kind of really shallow depth of field macro type shots that would show the end of a pencil scratching on something, drawing on something, or people's hands as they're talking, or anything like that to cut away to. I think also one of your interviews shows you have 3 camera angles that are all very similar. It might be nice to kind of mix those up a little bit. The titles work really well, I think, and the length of it works really well. There's one section where one of your subjects it shows them drawing. It's like you're leading into an interview with him, but there might be a bit too much before he starts talking. I suspect that's because you're trying to match it with the music rather than having a look at actually what's going on. So perhaps shorten that bit slightly, but the overall length isn't affected too drastically by that. But it could just, keep someone's attention just that tiny little bit better.
After looking at the poster, would you be inclined to see the film?
Yeah, this would definitely capture my attention. There are lots of different elements that add almost mystery, so that they make you kind of want to know what it's all about. The use of a chainsaw is an interesting choice for a number of reasons. So to think of something that is so industrial, but that also is actually used to create art in many different ways, whether it's sculpting or whatever, is quite intriguing. So I'd say definitely it almost has its own creativity just to the poster, by using a chainsaw as kind of the main focal point. The font is a good choice. It's very clear and concise. The quotes are good, and the overall layout, I'd say, is very strong.
Do you think that the design is appropriate to the production?
Absolutely, yeah. It's simplistic, which is something that you see throughout the production itself. That's reflected when your subjects are sat in front of a white screen, for example. It's this simplicity that kind of carries through, and that works really well as a house style for the production in general. So the music choice is suitable for the radio advert for a number of reasons. One, again, it's very simplistic. It enables you to have that voiceover over the top that works really well. And two, it's catchy. It's the kind of thing that people would recognise. So then, when that's reflected in the actual production, it works really well.
Do you think there was enough info?
Yeah, there was plenty of information. I think the general grasp of it can be caught through just hearing those few snippets from the production, as well as then the voiceover at the end that describes kind of what it's advertising. Yeah, I think it's quite good.
And what did you like but also dislike about the radio advert?
I liked how concise it was. I liked that it had snippets from throughout the production. That works well. The voiceover was good. The quality of the actual audio engineering was good. In terms of dislikes, I'd say the sounds at the beginning, the sound effects, they're not necessarily relevant to the production. I can understand why you used them, but yeah, perhaps you could have found some kind of alternative audio that would have worked more appropriately.
So from the ancillary tasks, what would you expect from the production?
I'd certainly expect it to be well produced, given the quality of the audio on the radio task, as well as the composition of the poster. I'd expect that audibly it would be very good, and that visually it would be very creative and very kind of well designed. So yeah, I suppose that's what I'd expect.
And where would you expect to see the posters and hear the radio advert?
The radio advert would be relevant, well, I mean, I suppose almost anywhere, in terms of, but I'd say it's probably got a younger audience. So, for example, you wouldn't expect it on Radio 4, but you might expect it on Radio 2, Radio 1, or local radio stations if it's advertising something specifically local, which in this case the production isn't, but the general feel of it would work on a local radio station. So the poster, perhaps a good place for that would be somewhere like art galleries or small cafes, anywhere that is kind of got this almost hipster-esque kind of look to it, where people might want to, where people might be particularly interested in creativity. So yeah, places like that, or vintage fairs or something like, maybe theatres, anywhere like that would probably work really well.